another $10 billion line of credit through the CARES Act that we already voted on. So as Republicans, we offered another amendment. We offered dealing with PPP for small businesses, offered dealing more money for COVID research and others. That was shot down. So it's concerning to me that we're getting so close to the election. I'm not in the majority. I can't control what comes to the floor. That almost this is becoming a political element instead of a policy one that it needs to be.
And then just to get from point A to point B, there's Congress
Yes.
Congress can vote some help for people that need it. How does it get exactly to where the weakest parts are right now in terms of small business or people that food insecurity, whatever it is, it really needs to be addressed. How do you do that? And can't the two parties appeal to each other just to focus on that and get rid of the other? And don't bring up cannabis. You always bring up cannabis. Methinks you protest too much, McCarthy, at times. I'm not sure what the hell you're talking about.
I'll leave cannabis. I'll leave cannabis out of it. I know that's an element that the Democrats crave a great deal. And the Speaker somehow thinks that's very helpful to COVID. I haven't seen any studies of that. No, but really needs to focus on unemployment insurance. Fortunately, the president took some action there, but unfortunately, the Speaker wants to stay at that $15 an hour extra from the federal government per week, even though Steny Hoyer says, no, we could come off that. I think PPP, you already have $100 billion still sitting there, but we have a lot of small businesses that are still being affected and need help. We could utilize that money and maybe some even more. You have schools that are using a great deal amount of resources to make sure the schools are prepared for students to come in. We had more than $100 billion for that. We're arguing about how much. We were $5 billion away. I don't know why that couldn't be done. These are key elements. Resources to the states, there are more than $100 billion that's already sitting there that we could provide greater flexibility. There's $1 trillion that's already appropriated that hasn't been outlaid yet that you could utilize too. It seems as though Pelosi, the Speaker, is wanting to have $1 trillion more, and she makes you want to spend it instead of saying, I already have it here, can I just add that on to it? And that seems to be a real sticking point. Unfortunately, I think the issues we all could come to an agreement on. We know the need for it. The president did take some action because in the House and Senate has not come together. I'm usually not supportive of that, but in this situation I am, simply because of the economy. It's too important. And I wish if we would just stay in a room. And what concerns me more than anything else, that they shifted the Democrats for this emergency meeting on the post office and said we all had to come back on Saturday. But if you watch, 68 Democrats wouldn't even show. 1/3 of them didn't even show up. And I would believe that the economy would be so important that everybody could show, but that we couldn't even bring that issue up as well.
Do you have concerns about if 80 million votes are mail-in votes? Do you have concerns, Congressman? What are we going to do about it? Is that going to be in 70, whenever it is 70 days? Is there any way that to avoid having such a large percentage of it being mail-in? Is it okay if it's in the mail?
Well, it's interesting. Everybody's concerned about the post office when it comes to mail-in ballots. That's not a problem. The post office can handle it. If everybody voted by mail, that would only be 3/4 of what the post office delivers on an average day. They can handle it. The real concern is, can the election office handle it? And there's a real difference between mail-in and absentee. Mail-in means that everybody who's on the rolls just gets a ballot mailed to them whether they want it or not. The problem is the rolls are never kept up. We watched in LA, it had 1 million more people than they had. They had to be sued to clean it up. These election offices don't keep their rolls clean. An absentee ballot is where somebody's registered and they apply for it. So then you have a protection in the process because you're checking their signatures based upon their voter registration, that there's a check and balance there. That is a more authentic and a safer method for elections. That's the fundamental difference of what's happening. You just don't want a bucket of ballots sitting out there for anybody to vote. You want to make sure your elections are honest and fair in the process. So I would tell anybody, if they got their ballot, to mail it and to follow it and trace it with technology you can. If it doesn't get voted upon, go to the polls.